This flowchart outlines the standard path of selling a home, complete with a massive roadblock right in the middle. Most sellers willingly hand over a 3 to 6% commission fee to a real estate agent. You pay this essentially as a friction tax, compensating a middleman simply because drafting the paperwork and managing the complex listing process requires too much specific knowledge for an average person to handle alone. Robert Levine spent 15 years living in his home in Cooper City, Florida. When he decided it was time to sell, he looked at that standard percentage fee and chose to skip it entirely. He completely bypassed human real estate agents. Instead, he gave end-to-end control of the property sale to ChatGPT. People generally treat large language models as fast typists or brainstorming partners. Now the technology is actively executing complex, legally binding financial transactions. This time-lapse video visualizes exactly how the AI operated on days 1 and 2 of the timeline. Acting as a project manager, the chatbot instructed Robert to repaint specific rooms, mathematically calculating which colors would generate the highest return on investment. It even generated a strict day-by-day packing schedule. By day 3, the AI shifted to market injection. It drafted the open house handouts and online materials. It also calculated that Robert should publish the property on the MLS, the multiple listing service database used by brokers to share available homes, specifically on a Tuesday to maximize visibility. The strategy worked. By day 4, exactly 72 hours after listing the property, Robert received 5 different offers. He successfully bypassed his human agent and kept that 3% fee in his own pocket. By systematically eliminating the traditional friction of preparing and listing a property, the AI made the seller look incredibly savvy. But if we freeze the timeline right at that 72-hour mark, a different economic reality emerges. Securing 5 offers in 3 days might look like a massive victory, or it might indicate a severe financial miscalculation. This dual-column balance sheet illustrates the underpricing trap. On the left, we see the visible savings, keeping that 3% agent fee. But on the right, if an AI prices a home too aggressively just to trigger an instant sale, the seller could easily leave 20% of the home's potential value on the table. Watch the line on this chart push higher. That represents what happens when a human agent applies psychological pressure. AI cannot read a buyer's emotions or manually engineer a Dutch auction, a bidding strategy that leverages buyer anxiety and fear of missing out to drive the final price well above the initial listing. Moving incredibly fast through a transaction guarantees efficiency, but it does not guarantee the maximum financial yield. Technological speed often masks the money left behind. Still, Robert accepted an offer, and by day 5, ChatGPT successfully generated the final, legally binding sale contract. But the automation abruptly stopped there. Before signing anything, Robert had to hire a human lawyer to review the AI-generated paperwork. Look closely at this terms of service document. OpenAI explicitly rejects liability for errors. If a catastrophic mistake makes it into a real estate contract, a seller cannot sue a chatbot for damages. An AI can calculate the highest probability of closing a deal, but it is legally incapable of absorbing the risk if that deal collapses. Robert's 5-day sale demonstrates that the technical tasks once locked behind a professional license, MLS access, market analysis, and contract drafting, are now accessible to anyone with an internet connection. When the friction of a transaction can be solved by an algorithm for free, the traditional justification for a 3% commission begins to erode. For the first time, the homeowner isn't just paying for the process, they're questioning the price of it. This shifts the professional's value away from paperwork and toward high-stakes judgment. A machine can list a house on a Tuesday, but it can't look a hesitant buyer in the eye and gauge whether they're bluffing about a competing offer. There is also the matter of accountability. Until an AI can carry malpractice insurance or stand in a courtroom to defend a contract, the human professional remains the only entity capable of carrying the legal risk of a $500,000 mistake. AI can build the frictionless path to a sale, but as long as transactions carry human emotions and legal consequences, the person signing at the bottom of the page is still the most critical part of the deal.